really, really important, and that's why we thought we'd take some time off to recognize their value and endeavor as to what they have done. And joining us today is the Rotary District Governor for Sri Lanka and Maldives, Mr. Dushan Soza, who's joined us on the show to talk to us. Can you just tell us briefly as to how the year has been for you?
Oh, it's been a hectic year because the governor's tenure is only 1 year, starting from July 1st to 30th June. So I'm actually counting down my tenure with the last 5 days in my current Rotary year. Then I hand it over to the successor, and Rotary plans succession for 3 years ahead. So there are leaders already lined up to take over. So we work on a strategic plan.
Right.
So this is a classic example of this 1 million trees program that we have just launched or relaunched over the weekend. This started about 2-3 years back, and then there were a couple of issues that we faced, primarily due to probably it's the first time we were venturing into a massive project where we were targeting 1 million trees, a very ambitious program. And so having learnt the lessons out of that first initiative, we have now yesterday launched our program to grow 195,000 trees by end of July. And then over the next 3 years, we will hit towards our target of a million trees.
Wow. That's a very important cause, but why? Why 1 million trees?
Yeah, today, I mean, with all the issues with the atmosphere, the global warming, and so on. So it's very important to manage our carbon footprint in the country. So by growing 1 million trees, that would help us greatly towards that. And another huge contribution that Rotary sees itself doing is the contribution to the biodiversity of those areas that we're talking about. So we have signed up MOUs with companies who are into that space. And over the period of next 2-3 years, we'll actually do research on that, and we'll be able to make a statement on what these 1 million trees have meant to the country in terms of its carbon footprint as well as the contribution to the biodiversity.
Mr. Dushan, we've seen in the past, from many years back, there's so many people who try to attempt this, but one critical factor that it's just not planting the tree and getting a footage, but maintenance of that plant until it comes to at least a certain age where it can self-sustain itself. What's your take on that? How is that
as I said, we learned our own lessons 2-3 years back on this, on the whole concept of planting a tree and growing a tree. So there's a big difference between growing a tree and actually planting the tree and moving away and handing it over. So we have signed up a strategic partnership with Haley's Group, who are rainforest certified, UN Global Compact. So they've got a big program on the environmental side in their tea estates. So then we realized that with all the communication we've been having, that we should first start growing trees in the upcountry, contrary to the belief that you want to grow that in the dry regions, because the whole water source begins from the hills. So you need to increase that whole capture of the water, which will then spread down to the rest of the country. So with the upcountry folks, the lines and so on, felling trees for their firewood and livelihood and heat, it requires a huge load of replenishment of those trees that are being felled right now. So upcountry was the choice, and with the backing of Haley's, who's got a whole program lined up, they're certified and so on, and their labor force.
This is Haley's agriculture?
Haley's plantations.
Okay, plantations,
we are moving into all the Haley's estates and growing clusters of trees in available spaces. So we are looking at about 5 to 10 hectares per estate, which will give us about 25,000 trees. So hopefully in 10 years from now or 15 years from now, we would see the fruits of what we are doing, and we would be able to see mini Rotary forests. So you're going to brand it like that, and that will also help us get funding from overseas, from the Rotary International Network, because when they see a program like this, it will really count.
Well, sir, if you know anything about, I remember several years back, there were investment companies that we promoted, investing on trees.
Yeah.
Did that actually work out? Did it get off the ground? What happened to this scheme?
I don't know. They were more of commercial ventures,
Okay.
where you are actually, if I remember right,
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't invest in that, so I don't
Neither
really
did I.
know the mechanics of it.
Yeah.
But I believe it was a case of buying trees, or planting trees, and after 40 years or something, you can
That's
own
right.
that tree. Or
That's right.
and they were mainly teak trees, so they were
Yeah.
for commercial purposes.
Right. Mr. Dushan, another thing that we see in this particular now, especially when it comes to the upcountry, some say that the pinus tree, which is already there covering most of the mountains, is actually a killer. It takes up all the water in the soil, and it's the wrong tree that we have placed in the wrong place. Selecting the kind of tree which is good for the area, which will at the end of the day have some yield to the villagers. Perhaps they could take the fruits, or do some thing from that as well. Have you thought of aspects like that?
Yeah, I mean, we are working with experts, so I mean, they are experts on the tree planting side, or the type of trees to use. And there are various scientific names for these trees. So the plant, the initial launch we had over the weekend at Pedro Estate in Aurelia, it was some Cavalier or something it was called scientifically.
Okay.
But in the English term, it was an American silver oak. So it's a silver colored tree, and it's an oak tree.
Wow.
It's a beautiful tree, and I saw some of the grown trees, trees that were grown. So we have a nursery also that Hades is running for us, and I believe there are about 40,000 plants in the nursery. And over the next couple of weeks, they will be planting this. And it's important to capture this is another learning we had. Important to capture the rainy season to plant the trees. So they plant only between now and end of July or early August. After that, they don't plant anything till the following year. So it's just these 3 months we need to leverage on.
And based on the activities for your term, what were the other projects?
Oh, there are a number of projects that we did. One of the primary projects was the final part of the Human Heart Well Bank at the Lady Ridgeway Hospital, where it's a tissue bank, like blood bank. We have set up a center at minus 270 Celsius or something, and all the equipment is installed to store human tissues to help babies recover from congenital heart diseases. Because the current statistics state that about 3,000 babies die due to this illness pertaining to heart, congenital heart disease, and they don't see their first birthday. So this is a massive contribution we see as Rotarians doing to save at least 50-60% of those babies' lives. And right now, the staff at Lady Ridgeway are being trained how to use this, and they're collecting the tissues to store in the bank. It's a very complex program, because even the tissues have to be tested for various types of illnesses or diseases, and then clear everything, and then store the good tissues. So on the back of that, we are also contributing, or we are planning to contribute to setting up that Little Hearts project. It's a big 8-story building Lady Ridgeway is putting up at the Lady Ridgeway Hospital. It's a public-private partnership. You will see people even on the streets, little children collecting money for this program. And we are planning to raise around 500 million rupees towards that project. And we are already appointed Mr. Alison Koch as our brand ambassador, because he has a lot of global exposure. And he is pushing for this funding from overseas. Plus, we will also have our own programs raising these funds. So we aim to completely equip 2 floors of that 8-story building.
Wow, it's all a massive project, and complicated as well.
Highly complicated. These kind of projects are highly complicated. There are some we just fund and move away, but these are ongoing projects that we need to stick with it.
And Dushan, little does people know the amount of service that organizations voluntarily do. I mean, with your life as a career person, you devote that 1 year of your tenure to do so much of things. I mean, the passion that we see in you while we are talking to you alone proves how important it is, and what the Rotary has done itself is simply amazing. So our heartful thanks, Sharon and I, for the wonderful work that you do, and we hope you continue to do. The next governor would do the same.
You will get a break.
Yeah.
But we have set it up very a strong platform. We have automated the whole back end, so people reporting to the system is running like a corporate. You know, we have what you call business intelligence or Rotary intelligence. So one of those factors that have come out is that Rotarians spend 8% of their time, productive time, on Rotary related activity. So now governors have a scientific figure there. If they want to tweak it up or down, it can make a paradigm shift to what we are already doing in the country. So there's a lot of stuff that has come out this year, and I hope it will all help in our journey in the next couple of years.
Thank you.
What's the final mission by every Rotarian?
I think the final mission for me is, having done this year as a Rotary governor, is that still people don't know, as you so rightly said, of what we do. There's a whole lot of stuff we are doing. There's a cancer, we are involving cancer. There's an early detection center that we have set up in Narayanpet. 70,000 people have been tested already at the first phase itself. We have signed a MOU with the government to eliminate cervical cancer. That's the only cancer that can be eliminated. And the government is doing the vaccines. We are running a huge program at the back end. There's a machine that we are bringing in called HPV DNA to do the pap smear testing, and so a whole lot of stuff. And the flagship project is really on dengue, where right now we are in the final stages of a pilot being carried out at Gram Pass, where 1,200 traps have been installed in people's gardens, and we are completely covering a whole sector out there to eliminate mosquitoes. So the trap entices the mosquito, lay the egg in the trap, and there's a mechanism inside that will destroy the larvae. So the idea is to capture that mosquito at source and then tackle it, versus cleaning gardens and doing all that stuff that's already happening. So this is a unique program. WHO is looking at this. We have signed again agreements with the Ministry of Health, and if that works, which we'll know after the monsoons when you get the results, it will be history. You know, because any type of mosquito can be caught in that, is malaria, anything. You know, it's a serious program.
Wow, that's some valuable information being shared. Joined us today is the Rotary District Governor for Sri Lanka and Maldives, Rotarian Dushan, Governor Dushan Soza. Thank you very much for joining us on the show. It's good to have you with us and for sharing some valuable insights as to what your year has been like.
Thank you very much.
Stay with us. We'll be back with you soon. We're speaking on the subject lines of cancer today. Its awareness, its importance, how you need to take care of yourself.